Hollywood in the Hood. I'm right here with domestic violence awareness advocate, Ms. Laura Cowan right here. Deep inspirational story, been in national media with her story. Real intense, uplifting, and I hope you can gain something from this and learn, how not to be in the same situations. I first of all, I got to commend you and applaud you for going to the media and telling your story to begin with.
Thank you very much. I want to say I'm glad to be here, and you've done a wonderful job. I heard so much about you in this community. Wow, a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Now this is a strong woman, and she's been through some terrible things, and if I say it, it doesn't, really resonate like that. So we want to ask you, Laura, kind of like, we don't have a whole lot of time. I know you really probably don't want to recall a whole lot of things, but if you can take us back to the beginning and give us a little background.
Yeah, Playa T. It occurred about back in 1999, and like you said, it's a long story to get into, but to get right to the beef of it, I got involved with a guy, and it was an Islamic relationship. And there in the home, there was 3 wives involved and a total of 19 children.
At that particular time when you first met this guy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And, I've noticed everything's always great in the beginning.
Right.
Because if it wasn't, you would never got involved.
Right.
And but things changed as time went on.
Right.
And he got more controlling, physical, disciplining with the children. It was really bad.
Let me stop you. What was attractive about the situation where you felt comfortable enough to give it even give it a try? Because you were married actually, right?
Yes, sir.
And your husband ended up going to prison, right?
Right.
And you guys had a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up losing the restaurant. And you had 2 children at the time.
Exactly.
So what were those were some of the circumstances surrounding that, and what else made it attractive to be involved with this guy and the other wives and the children that he had?
Well, he was charming, but he was helpful. And when you're in that state, when you're at your lowest and you're vulnerable, and someone comes to your aid, it's like a Superman, and it's like, well, thank you, Lord. You think it's a blessing.
Right.
That's what you think.
Right.
But it really isn't in return. But, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have took that step.
How long before did you start seeing the red flags?
Ooh, I would say about maybe 6 months into it. You could still see. But, I figured that's the way he disciplined his children. I should butt out.
Right.
But then it got worse, and then it started involving my own children.
Right. He started isolating your children from you.
Exactly.
And so okay, now from doing my research, I came across that when you first got into this, you actually walked through the door and you seen children, women and children on their knees. Were they in prayer, facing the wall?
Yeah, they were in prayer. And when the prayer was over, you would never believe how many children was in there. The place was quiet. He had them, so it was like a regimen. It was just quiet and isolated and kind of gloomy. The children wouldn't talk to each other.
Right.
It's like fear. You can feel and you can smell the fear.
You can feel that intensity.
You can.
Now the guy, he also dressed in that traditional garb with robes and turbans, I'm told.
Exactly.
Now, have you ever been abreast to that situation before then? Like, have you ever been around those types of charismatic people?
None whatsoever. And my husband was with the Nation of Islam, and he met this brother through the mosque.
Okay.
And that's how the acquaintance began.
Oh, so your husband knew the guy.
Exactly.
So it wasn't a stranger off the street. Your husband knew the guy.
Right.
And so when he caught wind of your husband going to prison, he kind of, went after his prey.
Right. Exactly. Okay. That's why I felt too. Went after his prey. And even I learned later on down the line, the second wife was also in that same type of situation. And he just fed on that. and he reeled us in.
What were some of the things he were telling you early on to lead you to believe that this would actually be a good thing for you?
Well, he gave a lot of scriptures from the Quran, and right away you're thinking, okay, he's a religious man, it can't be harmful. Your trust was there. He called himself an imam, and he knew quotes from every surah you can think of. And so you felt comfortable. You really thought, okay, well, this is a God sent, and he's here to help. Right. But I think he twisted. It was not think. I knew he twisted the Quran. He twisted a lot of words to fit his situation. So
now, when he twists those words, he were yelling at you and being real forceful and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's what domestic violence is. Everybody thinks it's physical, but actually it's emotional too, because he can take those words, those kind words, and he can hurt you with them too, with insults.
He dubbed himself Mansa Musa Muhammad.
Correct. I was visiting my husband back and forth in the jail, and he would say, "Well, I'll be the one to visit from now on," and
that's what he told you, that he will visit your husband.
Right.
So your husband and him had conversations.
Well, found out it wasn't true. He never did visit him.
Never did visit him.
Yeah, I found that from my husband when he got out.
Right. So before that went down, were you telling your husband that you were seeing this guy? Did you tell your husband? Did you?
I never had a chance to even tell him anymore. He wouldn't let me go and see him
anymore. So did you tell him at least one time?
One time.
One time?
Exactly, one time.
And what did he tell you?
He said in Islam, there's a protector or a wali that can be appointed by the husband. Say if there's a war or a man is away from the home a length of time.
Right.
And he was okay with Musa watching over the family, but that was as far as
I'm assuming you were having conversation with the other wives. What were your conversations like, and did you have opportunities to speak candidly with each other?
There you go. Isolation in the home, because he kept us all separated.
Like how? Can you speak to how he would pull that off?
Yeah, his first wife was like the head of the family, and he would tell her deliberately not to talk to us at all. And me and the second wife, we pretty much tried to correspond, but he didn't like that at all. Right. So sometimes we would write notes to one another,
right, just
to get a conversation.
Wow. In the beginning, did you think that you can make it work? Did you seek to be a good wife to this man? To fill that void of your husband missing and letting Mansa fill the void. Did you feel like you could make it work?
I really wanted it to. I wanted to try.
To try.
I wanted to try.
So you didn't have no problem with a polygamous relationship.
Exactly. So I went in with my eyes open, not closed.
Okay.
But it just wasn't right the way he was doing to all of us. And I knew then I wanted out. And then that's when the hell began.
Right. Now, you actually fathered a child with this man, your daughter, right?
Yes. Taslima.
Yes. How old is she now?
She's 13.
Now, in my research, it was said that when you gave birth to your daughter, he actually took your baby away from you and gave it to the first wife.
Sure did. He sure did.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, I felt terrible, and he knew it too, but he didn't care. He kept telling me the first wife is the charge wife, the one in charge.
Right.
And he wanted her to raise my child, and it wasn't working for me at all. That's when I started really rebelling.
And now, what were you doing in your rebellious state? What were some of the things you were doing? Because you were also locked in a garage, right?
Yeah, that came
with no
later.
Communication with the outside world.
That was my punishment for rebelling. Yes, it was.
So what were some of the things you were doing?
Isolating him too. I wouldn't speak. I wouldn't do prayer. I started to refuse to eat. So I just went on like a hunger strike. And so he saw that he didn't trust me anymore, because I kept saying I wanted out no matter what it took. And so he took me and my two children, my older two children, he locked us up in the garage.